Wisdom with Scott Allen.
Hello, I am your host, Scott Allen, and this is Phronesis, Practical Wisdom for Leaders. If the topic is leadership, I'm in. I've spent more than 20 years in the field teaching, learning, writing, and questioning. When I'm not working on Phronesis, I travel, delivering keynotes, working with individuals and teams, and helping people from organizations across industries become better leaders. Want to learn more? Visit me at scottjallen.net. Phronesis offers a smart, fast-paced discussion about all things leadership. We explore relevant topics and incorporate practical tips to help you make a difference in how you lead and live. Listen Notes lists Phronesis in the top 3% of podcasts worldwide. Phronesis is the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. ILA brings together those who teach, study, and develop leadership, advancing leadership knowledge and practice for a better world. Learn more at ila-net.org. Finally, if you enjoy Phronesis, please subscribe to stay current on our weekly episodes. If you find an episode that resonates, please share it with your colleagues and friends. And if you want more content, subscribe to my newsletter, The Leader's Edge. The link is in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening. And now, here's today's show. Okay, everybody, welcome to Practical Wisdom for Leaders. Thank you so much for checking in wherever you are in the world. I appreciate your time, appreciate you being with us here at the beginning of 2026. Today, I have a new friend. He is a friend from the future, and at least that's what I call him, Peter Weiss. And we have connected and built a little bit of a relationship on LinkedIn. And it's been really fun to follow his posts. In the show notes, you'll see a link to that, so you can follow him on LinkedIn. But it's been fun to follow his posts, better understand how he's viewing the world. And you know what? I'm really excited for this conversation because I don't think we've touched on some of what we're going to discuss today. So that gives you a little bit of a framework of why we're here. But Peter, if you would, sir, elephants in the backyard and all, would you introduce yourself? And I've left a little bit of a piece of you that maybe you want to address towards the end of your intro, but tell listeners about you.
Yeah, hi, Scott. Yeah, I'm Peter. I'm German, actually, and I live in Thailand for 30 years now. So I'm an engineer who moved from Germany to Thailand, came here with his typical German stereotype, everything need to be perfect, square-headed, and so on. And I was challenged here with the daily surprises. So I had to learn a lot. I had to unlearn a lot. I had to learn to deal with surprises every day. And that was quite challenging in the beginning. But now it's 30 years I'm here. And during that time, I learned a lot about leadership. Leadership in terms of managing businesses, foreign subsidiaries here in Thailand, the challenge between the two cultures.
Yes.
So that's where I'm today. I left corporate world 2017 and started my own business. I bought a small manufacturing business, which in the meantime I've sold again. And I also started the Kaizen Institute Thailand under the Masaki, my license. Today, I'm more a mentor and coach for a combination of Kaizen and mindfulness.
Okay, Kaizen and mindfulness. And being in Thailand, for listeners, Peter sent me a video of elephants in his backyard. That was a new one.
Yeah, that's a great story, actually, because 4 years back, I really had an idea to do something completely different. So I bought a yacht and we wanted to sail away. But then we realized that my wife has a challenge on a yacht. So when the waves are a bit too choppy, it wasn't too good for us. So we decided going more into the land. So we bought a small homestead here in Thailand. And that is basically in the wild. And we didn't know it's actually on a path where elephants every month walk through, wild elephants. So they feast on all our fruits that we have, pineapple, banana, and so on.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So they don't just eat peanuts. They eat other things as well, I guess.
I don't have peanuts, but they eat everything. Yeah.
Well, I am so excited, Peter, to talk about this concept of Kaizen. In recent years, I've worked pretty extensively with Toyota, working with general managers of stores and doing leader development. I hear the term Kaizen. You have the Kaizen Institute. I want you to take us and the listener a little bit deeper into that concept, because I think it's a beautiful concept. But as you've said in the past, especially online, at times it can be simplified, or in some ways that not bastardized, but it can lose some of its meaning in translation. And talk a little bit and take listeners into your world when you think about the concept of Kaizen.
Well, I have to first make a disclaimer. I have never worked for or with Toyota, but I have worked with a lot of Japanese, because the Japanese are the number one foreign investors here in Thailand. At least they were until maybe 10 years ago. So a lot of my clients were Japanese. And so I had been exposed to this kind of thinking here in Thailand. I actually learned first about the thinking or the concept of Kaizen or the mindset of Kaizen in a German company here in Thailand, which I was running as a managing director. I had no clue about it. We didn't use that term either until one of my employees mentioned, oh, this is a specific tool, Kanban. So I looked up what is Kanban, and then I opened up Pandora's box. I went into all these Kaizen tools. I learned them all. And that was all amazing and all great, reading the books of Masaaki Imai. However, I quickly realized that is all on a theoretical level. So when you apply these things in an organization, you have no idea where to start. And that's what I have then observed over the time. That's where many people are lost. They stick to this tool. They think Kaizen is tools, concepts, is something that you delegate to the next level in the organization. I, as a managing director, I just buy a consultant in, or I throw this concept, this initiative into the organization because it's so great, but I have nothing to do with it. And I think that's where it all went wrong. And even Masaaki Imai was struggling with this. So he has actually lashed out to management quite a lot. In his books, he called, if we want to call out the culprits of not bringing in lean into organizations, we have to look at the board and at the CEO. So you all forget that it all starts at the top. If we see Kaizen as a culture, can only come from the top. But there are ideas that cultures can grow from below, but typically they will come from the top. Everyone imitates the top. Everyone follows the way the top leads.
So give me 3 or 4 concepts that you think people need to be aware of when it comes to this topic of Kaizen. Let's go there.
I would say the first one is what Masaaki Imai himself said. It's everyone, everywhere, every day. So it's not something that is for the shop floor or for a specific area. It's something that everyone in the organization should do if an organization really want to grow and want to get better. Another concept that I think that's very important to understand is Kaizen does not actually mean continuous improvement of the outer world. It's actually changing myself. Not necessarily completely changing at myself, but that what I do, improve that what I do. And that requires a daily reflection or a regular reflection. Yeah, the Japanese call that hansei, and it's a quite critical reflection. So you're not praising yourself only. Of course, you look back and say, oh, that was great yesterday, or that was great today. But the focus here is what didn't go well, or if everything went well, is there something that I still can do better?
So that's interesting. It's continuous. It's not continuous improvement necessarily of the outer world, but it's a very internal. And I think the phrase you use, that what I do improves, that's what I improves that what I do. That
Right,
it's a critical reflection process and internal. And how can I be improving internally to then benefit the external world? Is that accurate?
We could say it this way. I'm a process engineer, so I'm thinking as a process, and we're always looking at the outcome. So we're improving something outside, or we're improving that process, or we're improving that product. But this is here an outcome. So the process is looking at myself. Where can I upscale my skills? And here's actually now the third concept, and which, from my point of view, is the most important. How do I really get clarity about that, what I'm doing here?
Okay, say more about that.
Some people call that mindfulness nowadays. It's the it's an alignment of your conscious and subconscious mind. Daniel Kahneman would call that probably system 1 and system 2. Are you familiar with these terms?
Oh yeah, Thinking Fast and Slow. Yeah.
Yes, great book. I think every leader must read that book from my point of view.
Oh yes.
To really understand that we are actually driven by our system 1, which is autopilot, emotion, habits. So 95% we are in that mode. And improvement not really comes from that mode. The improvement requires looking at data, looking rationally at problems, solving the root cause and not jumping to conclusion, which system 1 is. And so what I often see in leadership that they lack this. For me, that's a skill. That's something that we can learn. The alignment, the managing the conflict actually between system 1 and system 2 is because it was developed for a completely different environment. We are living now in an environment that is not fit for that, what our mind was developed in the evolution. But we can, I know it from myself because I learned that, we can learn that. These are skills that are trainable. And with this, we get really clarity. And that clarity is required to know what's really going on within me and what is really going on outside. There is this saying, Kaizen is about understanding reality as it is, seeing reality as it is.
Okay.
There is this concept of Gemba or Genba walk. Every Kaizener knows that means we are not talking about a problem or we are not talking about a process in a meeting room or in the office of a manager. We go to the place where it actually happens. Yeah. And we see with our own eyes and we experience with our whole body what's going on there.
In some of the training sessions that I was in, some of the folks, and I'm not going to say this correctly, so I apologize, Genji Genbutsu, go and see.
Correct.
Right? Genji Genbutsu.
That's exactly the term. That's a foundation of Kaizen.
Yeah. Go and see.
You go there where the reality is happening. So It's not in the manager's office. It's not in the meeting room. It's not in the boardroom.
Yep.
We have learned that. We have learned to go to Gemba, and there are wonderful Gemba walks concepts, and we can learn this all. And Kaizen Institute teaches this, and every proper consultant teach that. It's a basics that everyone has to learn.
Yep.
I help people to do the Genba walk into their inner world.
Talk more about that.
Let me give an example, a very simple example. Just a year ago with a client where there's always the question, I bring the people out to the Genba and then I ask this question, what do you see? Go to see. So, natural question. And in 99% of the cases, I get an answer about, oh, this product will not go out tomorrow or has to go out next week, and I worry it won't be finished.
Yeah.
Then I ask again, do you really see that here right now? So what we're doing is seeing something, but we are not really put attention to that, what we see. We make immediately an interpretation, and then the whole inner world starts getting into all this negative bias things, what can all happen, and especially what else can go wrong. And so our full bandwidth of consciousness of system is hijacked by that. And we have little left for really doing the improvement.
And something that I'm seeing in my consulting work every day, Peter, is that and I don't know how to phrase this well, but the whole context, the environment is seducing people into that system 1. And I don't mean that in a sexual way, of course, but everything it's just swirling and it's seducing folks into working from that place of autopilot. And that then, of course, brings forth, again, you have individuals who are under chronic stress. You have individuals who aren't pausing to engage in that system 2 because they're constantly stuck in that mode of that system 1. Are you seeing that as well? Is that your experience as well?
I would say that has even become worse over the time. And I think AI is even adding more to that. It's, I believe, the age of AI, the age of computers because what is AI? AI is system 2 on steroids. So we even now outsource our system 2. We are probably only 99% on system, we are 99% on system 1 now, and let others do system 2 for us. I see this has become more and more. I see that with managers, and I see more anxiety and fear.
Yes.
As a result, the brain is negative, or the mind is negative biased, and this blocks people really from doing improvements.
It's almost, I had a woman on the podcast, her name is Amy Elizabeth Fox, and she said that she works with a lot of senior executives in the Boston area. And I said, so what are you seeing? And she said, I see just a lot of exhaustion. I see a lot of just, again, chronic stress. And she said, part of my work is to help ensure that these individuals are performance ready. And I think embedded in that is some of what you were talking about, is that human, as whole as can be, do they have resources around them that is helping them move back into that system 2? That could be a coach, that could be a therapist, that could be an individual who is helping them to ensure that they're working out of a place of alignment. Because if they're not, and they're just on autopilot all day, whatever shows up. And oftentimes a human under chronic stress, that's not good. That's not a human at their best, right? So even that phrasing, performance ready, and I think that could be interpreted a few different ways, but at least how I view it as, is this individual grounded? Are they clear? Are they aware of what's swirling on around them and what is trying to seduce them and really throw them off their game? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes absolutely sense, because I was there myself. I'm now 61, it was 45, and I had a burnout. I was completely gone chasing the goals of others. No, I was working for a PE-backed company and running the show here in Thailand, and it was just performing. Nobody cared about you as a person, what's going on in your life and so on. So I had a complete burnout, and I took a decision to go on a retreat for 10 days. And there I learned about mindfulness, or actually Vipassana, where I got all these insights about what I talk today. Actually, that's what I do mainly nowadays, helping people getting back on that path of humanity. This is so beautiful about Toyota, because they have 2 pillars, Kaizen and respect for people, translated respect for people, but actually it's respect for humanity in their Japanese. And I think these are the 2 pillars which make companies like Toyota strong, though I know that they do not really live this outside Japan everywhere. I have a client from Toyota Australia, and he does not understand these concepts.
Yeah, I think the further away you get, although respect for people was another pillar of what we were talking about when these programs that I was doing were for general managers of stores, many of them, but respect for people was front and center. Kaizen, Genji Genbutsu was front and center. And so it was really interesting. So I am hearing it being communicated in some of these sessions as a value. And then there's whole sessions designed around that. And of course, then I love the fact that you bring this beautiful blend, because as a German engineer, talk about an engineer on steroids, that's a German engineer.
That was in the past, yes.
There's engineers and then there's German engineers. But you bring that kind of worldview and that understanding of the world. And even as you introduced yourself and said, look, I had to experience this whole other side. It's this yin and yang, and bringing this mindfulness and that alignment. And are we centered? We could use a number of different words: grounded, clear, working out of system 2. I love that blend that you're bringing, that worldview, because it's a really nice combination.
I think what we are talking about here is actually the difference between the East and the West.
Yes.
Grown up as someone in Germany, becoming a German engineer on steroids, as you say, that is so much focused on system, that's so much focused on this rational mind. And we think that's it. Don't even see that we have a body. The body is the vehicle that carries us on. I think Descartes is the culprit here by telling us this dualism. I think so I am. I'm a being. That's what I learned here in the Eastern world. We don't have the distinction between mind and body. It's one. It's one. And I think that's lost in the West. And that's where the suffering and the misery comes from. If we would really understand respect for humanity, that means we would see a person as a whole. System 2 functions in the body. System 1 functions in the body. We don't know our body anymore.
How do you see this playing out just even casually in China? You have a history there of obviously a lot of Eastern wisdom came out of China. A lot of really good thinking came out of China from that philosophical base. But then you have capitalism now running fast, and you have this productivity machine. So how do you see that tension playing out in some of the countries? It doesn't have to be China, but are you seeing, for instance, Thailand under pressure to be more Western-like and drive and be on autopilot? How are you experiencing that?
I think you said rightly, the capitalist view, so that which is driven by profit. So I invest, so the capital has to work.
Yeah.
And that has creeped in everywhere. We have maybe still a base of this deeper understanding of a human here, but it's system 1 can be so easily, as you mentioned earlier, influenced, and with all these wonderful things that we can buy with money and all the luxury, and when people see this on TV, on their phones, and so they want that. So we have a craving for that. We really distance ourselves from being a real human and just chasing always these new things that consumerism and so brings with it. I have worked in China. I had 3 episodes in China. In the 1990s, I was working there for 2 years. Then I was working 2000 to 2004 in China, and 2015 whole year. So what I've seen in China is that I see actually a little bit of a renaissance of coming back of this deeper thinking, because more and more people there realize that the system of just more and more is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a big movement there also, but I saw this in discussion with Chinese people, and I think especially in the last few years, there is some reorientation.
Yeah.
And it's not a pure capitalist. Now, what they have done, I actually admire China. They have lifted 1 billion people out of poverty within 50 years. Nobody else has ever done that.
And yes, it's a unique system that's going to be very interesting to watch unfold. You know, even your PE-backed organization in Thailand, the private equity firm cares about one thing, not you.
They care about one thing. Exactly.
I
know it. I experienced it.
Yeah, tell me something. And again, I've come across some PE firms that really do value people and do good work. And I've come across some that it's really only about the turning around and the selling and making it profitable and making a buck. And when we get out of balance in that way, I think and it's just so many other things in life. It's that tension, that polarity. And when we're out of balance, we're out of balance, and it's not sustainable, right?
And I must confess, as I said earlier, I bought myself a business here in Thailand. So I was the PE guy. I invested my private equity into a small business. It wasn't a big business. We were 60 people. We were manufacturing what's called load banks and equipment for testing generators, and we were selling mainly to Australia. And I turned this company around, and I made profit, and I made good money with that company. Yeah. But I still tried to not push the way forward. I pulled forward. So I worked with my people.
Yeah.
Rather than telling, you have to do Kaizen, I was more working on the consensus and asking, what should we do? So I was not throwing concepts and initiatives into the organization that we have to do this and this. I remember I was lucky to acquire a rather large project. It was actually beyond what everyone could imagine. We were doing about 10 gadgets a month, and we should 150 in 3 months now.
Wow.
Having experience with continuous flow and production and knowing what we had, I made my calculation. I said, it's possible.
Yeah.
But of course, in the organization, nobody believed. I couldn't push my people forward to do that. So what we did is I asked them what to do, to let them experiment. But we made an agreement. If it doesn't work, they had to raise hand immediately.
Yep.
And when they not feel comfortable that they can reach the targets, then I would come in and coach them and help them to find other ways. Okay, it became then in the end a little bit of more mentoring and or a guided coaching. So I helped them to think in the right way, and we made it. But they were all happy.
Is it the andon cord? They could pull the cord if it wasn't working?
You could call it, can call it an andon. I had a big board in my business. I had in the center of the factory, everyone could see that, and they had to turn cards there. When the card is green, everything is fine. And when the card is red, someone has to go there and help.
But even in the story you just told, you are taking a more system 2 mindful approach to how to facilitate change, to how to lead in this scenario. Again, another individual might walk in autopilot. This is what you need to do. Go. And they're feeling stress. They're feeling pressure. I've invested my own money. This has to work. Their identity's wrapped up in it, and they're setting themselves up for failure. And so it sounds like you did a very nice job of bringing that balanced approach in. I have the awareness, I have the vision, but I also have the awareness and the mindfulness around how to influence change, how to influence the team, and how to get them, co-create with them, collaborate with them, bring them along.
And I think we have to be a little bit thinking out of the box here and being unorthodox. So what I do is I help people first to reset their nervous system.
You start there.
I have the opinion now that as a CEO, you need to have at least 50% of education in psychology to understand people. If you really want to make them performance ready, if you can't make them, but if you want to help them to get there, if you're at the top, not there, how will you get your organization there? It starts with you.
Yep. And this gets to my favorite quote about leadership. Bob Hogan said this from Hogan Assessments: who you are is how you lead. So who are you? And that matters a lot. That matters a lot if you're in a position of authority.
This is why I went into the inner world rather than the outer.
Peter, I really appreciate your time today. I close out these conversations because of my good friend Joel, who made this suggestion. What's the practical wisdom here?
Having worked with 40 leaders on that, go back into your body. Learn what your body tells you. Yep. This is where the nervous system reset starts. Learn that. It's a skill. It's not taught in MBA. It's not taught in engineering school. It's not taught in school. Anywhere, learn that.
And to be honest, I don't know of many, and there could be, so by no means, listeners, I have not read the latest issue of Leadership Quarterly. I don't know how much attention that topic has received, at least in the academic literature. I know that there's coaches and I know that there's other individuals who are thinking that way, but I think more and more that, are you an individual who is grounded, who is looking at the world through mature eyes, who is mindful, who is present? Are you bringing that energy to the system, or is it a different energy that you're bringing to the system? And there's very important ramifications in those two examples. My friend who's in the future, and we got to tell listeners, what year is it in Thailand right now?
2569.
Okay, so for listeners, not only is he in the future from a just time zone standpoint, he's in the future. It's the evening for him now. It's morning for me, but he's living in the future, hundreds of years in the future. So he is my friend from the future. Sir, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for the great work that you do. I'm going to put some links in the show notes for listeners, and you can find out more about Peter, and we'll put a couple resources in there as well, just so you can learn a little bit more. Thank you, sir. Be well.
Thank you, Scott.
You have just finished another episode of Practical Wisdom for Leaders with Scott Allen. To contact me, visit scottjallen.net or send me a note at scott@scottjallen.net. I'm also on LinkedIn, so let's connect. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And now here's my daughter, Emily, with the outro.
You've been listening to Phronesis, Practical Wisdom with Scott Allen.